And we are back with part 2 of this week's Bible study for Waymaker Messianic Jewish and Christian Center USA. We are reading from the Messianic Jewish Family Bible, Tree of Life Version, TLV. We are in the section known as the Ketuvim, or the writings, and we are this week covering the book of Ezra. And right now we have covered the first return, the first group of people that returned in the post-exilic years from the captivity of Babylon. So what is happening is King Cyrus gave the decree for the people to return and to rebuild the city, to rebuild, repair, and restore the house of God. Now we've got a group of people that are lying because they weren't let into the building plan here. Um, they were not to be part of this anyway. So they had approached Zerubbabel and they didn't like the answer. So they went to King actually Ahasuerus and declared that rebuilding the city would be a mistake and it will be harmful to the king, to the kings, and so they convinced him that this was not a good thing. So he put a halt to the rebuilding. So that's where we ended chapter 4. Chapter 5 is prophets restart the project. Now Haggai the prophet and Zechariah the prophet, the son of Iddo, prophesied to the Jews who were in Judah and Jerusalem in the name of the God of Israel, who was over them. Then Zerubbabel son of Shealtiel and Jeshua son of Jozadak arose and began to rebuild the house of God in Jerusalem, and the prophets of God were with them, supporting them. At that time, Tattenai, governor of Trans-Euphrates, Shethar-Bozenai, and their associates came to them and asked them, "Who gave you the authority to build this house and to complete the structure?" They also asked them, "What are the names of the men who are constructing this building?" But the eye of their God was upon the elders of the Jews, and they were not stopped until a report could go to Darius and a written reply about it be returned. This is a copy of the letter that Tattenai, governor of Trans-Euphrates, Shethar-Bozenai, and his colleagues, officials of Trans-Euphrates, sent to King Darius. The report they sent to him was written as follows. To King Darius, Al Shalom, be it known to the king that we went to the province of Judah to the house of the great God, which is being built with large stones, and timber is being set in the walls. Now this work is being done diligently and is succeeding in their hands. Then we questioned those elders, asking them, "Who gave you the authority to build this house and to complete this structure?" We also asked them their names in order to inform you, so that we might write the names of the men who were in charge of them. They responded to us, saying, "We are servants of the God of heaven and earth, and we are rebuilding the house that was built many years ago. A great king of Israel built and finished it. But because our fathers angered the God of heaven, he gave them into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, the Chaldean. He destroyed this house and carried the people away to Babylon. However, in the first year of Cyrus, king of Babylon, King Cyrus issued a decree to rebuild this house of God. Even the gold and silver utensils of the house of God that Nebuchadnezzar had taken from the temple in Jerusalem and had carried away to the temple in Babylon, King Cyrus took those things from the temple in Babylon and gave them to a man named Sheshbazzar, whom he had appointed governor. Then he said to him, "Take these vessels and go and deposit them in the temple in Jerusalem, and let the house of God be built in its place." So this Sheshbazzar came and laid the foundation of the house of God in Jerusalem. From that time until now, it has been under construction, yet it is not yet finished. Now, if it pleases the king, let a search be made in the royal archives there in Babylon to see if, in fact, King Cyrus issued a decree to rebuild this house of God in Jerusalem. Then let the king send us his decision about this matter. Chapter 6. Darius endorses rebuilding. King Darius then issued an order, and a search was made in the archives stored in the treasury at Babylon. A scroll was found in the citadel of Ecbatana in the province of Media, and this was written on it. Memorandum. In the first year of Cyrus the king, King Cyrus issued a decree concerning the house of God at Jerusalem. Let the house be rebuilt as a place where sacrifices are offered. Let its foundation be laid. Its height is to be 60 cubits, and its width 60 cubits, with 3 layers of large stones and one layer of timber. Let the expense be paid from the king's house. Also let the gold and silver vessels of the house of God, which Nebuchadnezzar took from the temple in Jerusalem and brought to Babylon, he restored and brought to the temple in Jerusalem. You shall deposit them in the house of gold, in the house of God. So yes, he is saying, um, take those vessels and deposit them in the house of God. Now then, Tatani, governor of Trans-Euphrates, Shethar-Bozenai, and their colleagues, officials of Trans-Euphrates, all of you stay away from there. Leave the work of this house of God alone. Let the governor of the Jews and the elders of the Jews rebuild this house of God in its place. Moreover, I hereby issue a decree as to what you are to do for these elders of the Jews to rebuild this house of God. The complete costs are to be paid to these men from the royal treasury, from the tribute from Trans-Euphrates, so that they are not hindered. Whatever is needed, young bulls, rams, or lambs for burnt offerings to the God of heaven, or wheat, salt, wine, and oil, as requested by the Kohanim in Jerusalem, must be given to them daily without neglect, so that they may offer pleasing sacrifices to the God of heaven and pray for the life of the king and his sons. Furthermore, I decree that if anyone changes this edict, a beam is to be pulled out from his house, and let him be lifted up and impaled on it. And because of this, his house be made a pile of refuse. May God, who makes his name to dwell there, overthrow any king or people who lifts his hands to cause such change to destroy this house of God in Jerusalem. I, Darius, have issued a decree. Let it be carried out with diligence. So he backed up the building of the house of God. Completion and dedication of the temple. Then Tatene, the governor of Trans-Euphrates, Shethar-Bozenai, and their associates diligently carried it out, just as King Darius had sent. So the elders of the Jews continued building and prospering through the prophesying of Haggai the prophet and Zechariah the son of Iddo. They finished building according to the command of the God of Israel and according to the decree of Cyrus, Darius, and Ahasuerus, kings of Persia. The temple was completed on the 3rd day of the month of Adar, which is in the 6th year of the reign of King Darius. Then the sons of Israel, the Kohanim, the Levites, and the rest of the exiles celebrated the dedication of the house of God with joy. For the dedication of this house of God, they offered 100 bulls, 200 rams, 400 male lambs, and as a sin offering for all Israel, 12 male goats, corresponding to the number of the tribes of Israel. They appointed the Kohanim in their divisions and the Levites in their divisions over the service of God at Jerusalem, as it is written in the book of Moses. The exiles celebrated the Passover on the 14th day of the first month, for every one of the Kohanim and the Levites had purified themselves, and all of them were ceremonially pure. They slaughtered the Passover lamb for all the exiles and for their fellow Kohanim and for themselves. So those of Bnei Israel who had returned from the exile ate it together with all who had separated themselves from the impurity of the nations of the land to seek Adonai, the God of Israel. They celebrated the feast of Matzah with joy for 7 days, because Adonai had given them joy and had changed the heart of the king of Assyria toward them, so as to strengthen their hand in the work of the house of God, the God of Israel. So that's the end of chapter 6. And we're moving into chapter 7. Ezra returns from Babylon. Now, after these things, during the reign of Ahasuerus, king of Persia, Ezra, son of Sarai, son of Azariah, son of Hilkiah, son of Shallum, son of Zadok, son of Ahitub, son of Amariah, son of Azariah, son of Merioth, son of Zariah, son of Uzi, son of Buki, son of Abishua, son of Phinehas, son of Eleazar, son of Aaron. So Ezra is traced all the way back to Aaron, the Kohen Gadol. This Ezra came up from Babylon. He was a scribe, skilled in the Torah of Moses that Adonai, the God of Israel, had given. The king granted him everything he requested, because the hand of Adonai, his God, was upon him. Some of Bnei Israel and some of the Kohanim, the Levites, the singers, the gatekeepers, and the sanctuary servants also came up to Jerusalem in the 7th year of King Ahasuerus. He arrived in Jerusalem in the 5th month of the 7th year of the king. He began his Aliyah, and that is, Aliyah means to ascend. His ascension from Babylon on the first day, on the first month, and entered Jerusalem. So he ascended to Jerusalem, Aliyah, Aliyah. On the first month of the first, on the first day of the first month, and entered Jerusalem on the first day of the 5th month, because the good hand of his God was upon him. For Ezra had set his heart to seek the Torah of Adonai, to observe and to teach its statutes and ordinances in Israel. King Ahasuerus, letter to Ezra. Now, this is a copy of the letter that King Ahasuerus gave to Ezra, the Kohen, the scribe, a teacher of matters pertaining to the mitzvah of Adonai and his statutes over Israel. Ahasuerus, king of kings, to Ezra the Kohen, a scribe of the law of the God of heaven. I have now issued a decree that anyone in my kingdom from the people of Israel, even the Kohanim and Levites, who wish to go up to Jerusalem with you may go. For you are sent by the king and his 7 counselors to inquire about Judah and Jerusalem with regard to the law of your God, which is in your hand, and to bring the silver and gold that the king and his counselors have freely given to the God of Israel, whose dwelling is in Jerusalem, together with all the silver and gold that you find in the whole province of in the whole province of Babylon, as well as the freewill offerings of the people and the Kohanim for the house of their God in Jerusalem. Furthermore, with this silver you should be sure to buy bulls, rams, and lambs, along with their grain offerings and their drink offerings, and offer them on the altar of the house of your God in Jerusalem. You may do whatever seems good to you, and your brothers with the remaining silver and gold according to the will of your God. The vessels that are entrusted to you for the service of the house of your God, deliver before the God of Jerusalem the rest of the needs for the house of your God, that you may have occasion to supply. You may provide from the royal treasury. I, King Ahasuerus, hereby issue a decree to all the treasurers of Trans-Euphrates to diligently provide all that Ezra the Kohen scribe of the law of the God of heaven may ask of you, up to 100 talents of silver, 100 cores of wheat, 100 baths of wine, 100 baths of oil, and salt without limit. Everything that the God of heaven has required, let it be done with diligence for the house of God of heaven. For why should there be wrath against the realm of the king and his sons? We also notify you that you have no authority to impose tribute, tax, or duty on any of the Kohanim, Levites, singers, gatekeepers, sanctuary servants, or attendants at this house of God. Now you, Ezra, according to the wisdom of your God that is in your hand, appoint judges and magistrates who may administer justice to all the peoples in Trans-Euphrates, all who know the laws of your God, and you are to teach those who do not know them. Let anyone who does not observe the law of your God and the law of the king be punished with due diligence, whether it is death or banishment, confiscation of goods, or imprisonment. Blessed be Adonai, the God of our fathers, who put it in the heart of the king to beautify the house of Adonai in Jerusalem in this way, and who has extended loving kindness to me before the king and his counselors and all the king's mighty princes. I gained strength at the hand of Adonai my God was upon me, and I gathered leading men from Israel to go up with me. Chapter 8, A Holy People and Their Witness. Now, these are the patriarchal leaders and the genealogical records of those who came up with me from Babylon during the reign of King Ahasuerus. From the sons of Phinehas, Gershom; from the sons of Ithamar, Daniel; from the sons of David, Hattush; from the sons of Shechaniah; of the sons of Parosh, Zechariah; and with him were 150 males were enrolled by genealogy. From the sons of Pahath-Moab, Eliahonai; the sons of Zerahiah; and with him were 200 males enrolled by genealogy. From the sons of Shechaniah, the sons of Jahaziel; and 300 males with him. From the sons of Adin, Ebed, the son of Jonathan; and 50 males with him. From the sons of Elam, Jeshai, the sons of Athaliah; and 70 males with him. From the sons of Shephatiah, Zebediah, the sons of Michael; and 80 males with him. From the sons of Joab, Obadiah, the son of Jehiel; and 128 males with him. From the sons of Shelomith, the son of Josephiah; and 160 males with him. From the sons of Babai, Zechariah, the son of Babai; and 28 males with him. From the sons of Azgad, Johanan, the son of Hakatan; and 110 males with him. From the sons of Adonikam, they came later, but these are their names: Eliphelet, Jael, and Shemaiah; and 60 males with them. From the sons of Bigvai, Uthai, and Zachar; and 70 males with him. I assembled them at the river that flows toward Ahava. We camped there for 3 days, and I observed the people and the Kohanim, but I did not find any Levites there. So I sent for Eleazar, Ariel, Shammai, Elnathan, Jarib, Elnathan, Nathan, Zechariah, and Meshullam, who were leaders; and for Joarib and Elnathan, who were men of learning. I sent them to Iddo, the leader at the place of Casaphiah. I put words in their mouths to speak to Iddo and his brother, who were sanctuary servants at Casaphiah, in order to bring us ministers for the house of our God. Now, as the good hand of our God was upon us, they brought us Sherebiah, a man of insight, from the sons of Mali, sons of Levi, sons of Israel, along with the sons of his brothers, 18 men. Also Hashabiah, together with Jeshiah, from the sons of Merari, his brothers, and their sons, 20 men. Also from the sanctuary servants, whom David and his officials had given for the work of the Levites, 220 sanctuary servants, all of them designated by name. Then I proclaimed a fast there at the Ahava river, so that we might humble ourselves before our God and seek from him a straight way for us, our little ones, and all our possessions. For I was ashamed to ask the king for soldiers and cavalry to protect us from the enemy along the way, because we had spoken to the king, saying, the gracious hand of our God is upon everyone who seeks him, but his great anger is against everyone who forsakes him. So we fasted and sought our God about this, and he responded to our plea. Then I set apart 12 of the leading Kohanim, Sherebiah, Hashabiah, with them 10 of their brothers, and I weighed out for them the silver, the gold, and the utensils, the contribution to the house of our God, that the king, his counselors, his officials, and all Israel were present had offered. Specifically, I weighed into their hands 650 talents of silver, silver utensils worth 100 talents, 100 talents of gold, 20 golden bowls, valued at 1,000 derricks, and 2 exquisite vessels of gleaming bronze, as precious as gold. Then I said to them, You are holy to Adonai, and the vessels are holy. The silver and the gold are a freewill offering to Adonai, the God of your fathers. Guard them carefully until you weigh them before the leading Kohanim and the Levites and the leading patriarchs of Israel and Jerusalem in the storerooms of the house of Adonai. So the Kohanim and the Levites received the silver, the gold, and the vessels by weight to bring them to Jerusalem to the house of our God. Then we set out from the Ahava River on the 12th day of the first month to go to Jerusalem. The hand of our God was upon us, and he delivered us from the hand of the enemy and from ambush along the way. So we came to Jerusalem and remained there for 3 days. On the fourth day, the silver, the gold, and the utensils were weighed out in the house of our God into the hand of Meremoth the son of Uriah the Kohen. Eleazar the son of Phinehas was with him, and so were the Levites, Jozabad the son of Jeshua, and Noadiah the son of Binu. Everything was accounted for by number and weight, and the total weight was recorded at that time. Then the exiles returning from captivity sacrificed burnt offerings to the God of Israel, 12 bulls for all Israel, 96 rams, 77 lambs, and as a sin offering, 12 male goats. All of this was a burnt offering to Adonai. Then they delivered the decrees to the king's Persian governors, and to the governors of the Trans-Euphrates, who then gave help to the people and the house of God. Now remember, the 12 goats were to be the sin offerings for the 12 tribes. Then we have chapter 9, Interceding the Unfaithful Remnant. Now when these things had been completed, the leaders approached me to say, The people of Israel, the Kohanim and the Levites, have not separated themselves from the peoples of the lands, who practice detestable things, just like the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Jebusites, the Ammonites, the Moabites, the Egyptians, and the Amorites. Remember, God did not want them intermingling. He had said that right from the beginning when they were with Moses, and when Joshua was leading him into the promised land. He wanted them to not uh, commingle or coexist. For they have taken some of their daughters as wives for themselves and for their sons, and have mingled the holy seed with the peoples of the lands. Now remember, the peoples of the land were doing pagan worship. They were not of God. They were worshiping false gods, idols, and doing all kinds of pagan practices. Indeed, the hand of the leaders and the officials have been at the forefront in this unfaithful act. When I heard this report, I tore my garment and my robe and pulled out some of the hair from my head and from my beard. Then I sat down devastated. Everyone who trembled at the words of the God of Israel gathered themselves around me because of the unfaithful act of the exiles. Devastated, I sat there until the evening offering. At this at the time of the evening offering, I rose up from my self-abasement with my garment and robe torn. Then I bowed down on my knee and spread out my hands to Adonai, my God. I prayed, Oh, my God, I am ashamed and humiliated to lift up my face to you, you God, for our iniquities are higher than our heads, and our guilt has reached to the heavens. From the days of our fathers to this day, our guilt has been great. Because of our iniquities, we, our kings, and our Kohanim have been subjected to the sword, to captivity, to plunder, and to humiliation at the hand of the kings of the lands, as it is today. But now, for a brief moment, Adonai our God has shown us favor in leaving us a remnant and giving us as a peg in his holy place. Thus our God has enlightened our eyes and has given us a little relief in our bondage. Though we are slaves, our God has not forsaken us in our bondage. He has extended loving kindness to us in the sight of the kings of Persia, reviving us in order to restore the house of our God, to raise up its ruins, and to give us a wall in Judah and in Jerusalem. And I'm going to pause it right now, and we're going to come back and finish chapter 9. This is actually, I'm going to redo this prayer that Ezra is doing to God when we return, because I don't want to miss it or separate part of it.